Hello and welcome to my La Liga league guide for FIFA 22. Today, as always, we're going to be going through the ways to realistically play the league. So this involves the realistic squad rules, where you should be doing your youth scouting, the player ratings you should be limiting your team to keep the game a bit more difficult, which teams to choose, which stadiums are in the game, and then I'll be recommending some realistic kinds of signings that you can pick for your favourite team. So as always, we're going to be beginning with the squad rules. On paper, the Spanish squad rules do actually look quite difficult to follow. However, in reality, they are very simple. You're only allowed to have 25 players in your squad, and 3 of these have to be goalkeepers. The goalkeepers must wear either the number 1, number 13, or number 25 squad numbers. Under 21 players don't count towards the 25 player limit, so you can have as many 18-year-olds as you want and play them whenever you want. Players outside of the registered 25 have to wear the shirt numbers 26 to 50, meaning there is technically a hard cap of 50 players, but no one's ever going to have 25 under 21s in their squad anyway. There's a maximum of 3 non-EU players, but South Americans do count as Spanish after 2 seasons of playing in Spain. This can be in either the first or second division, so if you do have a young player and you want to make him not be eligible for the 3 non-EU players, you can loan him out to either of the 2 divisions, and after 2 seasons he'll count as an EU player. A really good way to get a lot of under 21 players, of course, is the Youth Academy. Of course, over the years, the Youth Academy has made a massive impact in how Spanish football has played out, with several generations of the national team all coming through at the same club. You saw it with Real Madrid in the mid to early 2000s, and then of course, towards the end of that decade, you had the golden generation coming through at Barcelona. As it seems that another golden generation is coming through at Barcelona, it's a good time to look at who you should be scouting for your Youth Academy on FIFA 22. So, of course, the most popular nationality in the whole of the league is Spain, with over 400 players currently playing for Spain. Unsurprisingly, the second most common nationality is Argentina. This is, of course, because they speak Spanish in Argentina, so they do have a lot of cultural similarities. It's also, of course, a hotbed of football talent, so definitely a place you should consider scouting if you're in La Liga. The top 5 nationalities are rounded out by France, Brazil and Portugal, who all have around 20 players from that nationality playing in the league. A surprising 6th place for Spanish-speaking Uruguay means that I recommend you scout any 3 of Spain, Argentina, France, Brazil, Portugal and Uruguay. Of course, the most common nationalities you'll be scouting are probably Spain, Argentina and France, but you've got Brazil, Portugal and Uruguay if you do want to freshen things up and have a bit different of a youth academy. One of the biggest problems with the Youth Academy, however, is that you do get a lot of talent. So if you want to keep it a bit more realistic, there are some ratings that I would suggest you try and limit your squad to. If you're in the Champions League, I think you can really sign anyone. Of course, Ronaldo and Messi both had a massive long spell of playing in this league while being 94, 95 overall. You've seen Neymar as well getting up to that, and from next summer you'll probably see someone like Mbappe or Haaland playing in the league, also in the high 90s. For Europa League teams, there is a bit of a gulf between the Champions League level teams of Barcelona, Atletico and Real Madrid, and then the next tier of teams like Valencia, Sevilla and Athletic Club. So for Europa League teams, I would suggest you probably try and limit your best player to be around an 85. The gulf between the Europa League teams and the mid-table to lower mid-table teams isn't actually that big, so I'd say if you're in that kind of range, try and keep your best player to be around an 83. This will give you a bit more of a tough challenge playing against these better teams like Real Madrid and Barcelona, and it will also mean you don't have to develop that much to get into the Europa League, so I think it's a good middle ground there. For Relegation Fodder teams, so these are the teams that find themselves right at the bottom of the table, I would suggest you don't really have any players over 80. Almost every team in the league does have a player who's at least 80 rated, and usually they are goalkeepers or defenders. So if you're going to go over 80 rated, try and keep it to one of these non-essential, non-goal scoring positions just to keep the game a little bit more difficult. If you are planning on keeping the game a bit more difficult, then you're going to have to pick the right team for the kind of save that you want to do. If you want a difficult save, you're probably not going to get that with one of the better quality teams, Barcelona, Atletico or Real Madrid. If you want a more of a youth development save and you're just trying to develop a nice set of youngsters, trying to get a nice culture going through your club, go for one of Sociedad or Bilbao. Now these are actually both rivals in real life, And if you look in the description, I've actually made a video on Bilbao and how they can use the Basque policy to make the game even harder. It's probably the save I'd recommend the most out of any team in the league going for Athletic Club. If you don't know, they're only allowed to sign players who have the Basque nationality, which means either they were born in the Basque region, which is a tiny area in the north of Spain, or one of their ancestors was actually born there instead. You can use the youth academy here, scouting France and Spain, just only picking the Basque names, which I've also put a list in that video. So do check that out if you are into that kind of thing and want a very tough and very fun youth academy save in La Liga. If you're more interested in a road to glory, then there's 3 cool teams you can go for here. I've gone for RCD Mallorca, who play on the island of Palma in the Balearic Islands, so in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, not actually connected to mainland Spain. I've also gone for Cádiz CF, who have Alvaro Negredo up front, and Rayo Vallecano, who have Falcao up front. Now, both of these strikers have got pretty good histories in the league, especially Falcao, who's nearing on 300 goals. He's come into Vallecano, and he's got 3 goals in his first 4 games, so it's looking like it could be another fire season for Falcao. It's up to you to try and give him a couple of good send-off seasons, maybe bring in some of his former players that he did enjoy playing with, people like James Rodriguez, who you probably could justify going to somewhere like Vallecano if you can play in the style he likes, and that would be a good road to glory, giving them a good season, also giving Falcao a nice end to his career. If you're into your real stadiums, then La Liga is definitely a good league for you to be playing in. 17 teams have their stadiums, and every team that I've just suggested, except for Barcelona, does actually have its real stadium in the game. You'll even find that most of the promoted teams from the second division will also have their stadium in game, so almost always you're going to be playing at a real stadium. The only leagues that can really compete with this level of stadiums to team are the Premier League and the Bundesliga, but I still don't think they actually have the same percentage of real stadiums. So definitely, if you're into that kind of thing, a very good league to pick. Finally, let's have a look at some of the players that find themselves in La Liga. Now, there's 3 different categories of signings, I'd say, that do regularly join the Spanish First Division. You've got Southern European players who are at their peak age. So this is players between 25 and 30 who come from places like Greece or Spain, Portugal, Italy, anywhere like that, and they'll find themselves in a pretty familiar culture on the Mediterranean Sea. So some players that I think would fit in here could be Kovacic, of course Croatia, Southern European, he's at the peak of his powers and he is a good player. You got Fortounis at Olympiacos. He's not as talented, but he is also a very good player, and I think he would fit in with the style of play in Spain, and I think he'd be a good cheap option for any of the bottom half teams looking for a playmaker. The next category of signings that you see a lot in Spain is, of course, high potential Spanish-speaking South Americans. So this could be any wonder kid that you can find from Colombia, Argentina, Uruguay, Chile, any of these countries, and probably almost anywhere in South America. You could even include Brazil, although of course they do speak Portuguese there. They will often find themselves coming to Spain. You could also go up a little bit more into North America. Have a look in Mexico, Costa Rica, anywhere you can find that's Spanish speaking or used to be part of the Spanish colonies, and they'll probably have good footballers who are willing to join the Spanish First Division. And the final category of football you often see going to La Liga is the older Spanish-speaking players. Now, this is similar to the high-potential Spanish one that we've just mentioned, and you're going to have a lot of similar players, so Colombians, Argentinians, and Uruguayans. But you're also going to be focusing on the older Spanish player. So if you can think of a good Spanish player who's old, maybe Iniesta would want to come back to Spain. I mean, it's not that realistic, but that's just one that comes to the top of my head. You could see him going back. But on my list, I've got people like Duvan Zapata, who's never played in Spain. Arturo Vidal, of course, played for Barcelona for a few years. And Eduardo Salvio, who's an Argentinian currently playing in Argentina. Maybe you could focus on bringing him back to Europe for one last go at European football. But if you've got any suggestions for any of these types of players, or you got any suggestions for someone who's been really good for you in La Liga, please do leave it in the comments. And if you're looking for more players to try and sign, check the comments first, because this community is actually super helpful. If you want to ask more players directly, then try and join my Discord, where the link's in the description below, and you'll get a lot of help if you tag in the career mode experts. Anyway, unfortunately that's all we have time for in today's video. I hope you've enjoyed this, and if you're going to play La Liga, please do comment the team that you're going to pick below. If you've got a favourite team, let us know as well. Join the Discord if you like the video if you enjoyed or learned anything, and subscribe if you want to see more FIFA 22 league guides, team guides, tips and challenges on this channel. Thank you all for watching, and hopefully I'll see you very soon for my next video. Thank you and goodbye.